The morning had drawn clear and cold with Christmas that hinted that at the end of summer. They set forth at daybreak to see the man beheaded, 20 in all, and Bran rode on among them, nervous with excitement. This is the first time he had been deemed old enough to go with his lord father and his brothers to see the king's justice done. It was ninth of the summer and 7th of Brian's life. The man had been taken outside a small holdfast in the hills. Rob thought he was willing his sword sworn to mace Raider the king beyond the wall. It made Brain's skin prickle to think of it. He remembered the heartless tales of the old Nan told them. The Willings were cruel men, she said, slavers and slayers and thieves. They consorted with the giants and ghouls, stole girl children in the dead of night, and drank blood for the Polish hordes. From polished hordes, and their women laid in the night longs to sire terrible half-human children. But the man they found, bound hand and foot to the holdfast wall, awaiting the king's justice, was old and scrawny, and not much taller than Rob. But he had lost both these and a finger to frostbite, and he dressed all in black, and the same as his brothers, the night's watch, except that his furs were raggedy greasy. The breath of man and the horse mingled between in the cold of the morning air. As his lord's father, he had the men cut down from the wall and dragged before them. Rob and John sat tall and still on their horses, with Brian between them on his pony, trying to seem older than 7, trying to pretend that he's seen all this before. A faint wind blew through the holdfast gates. Other the heads flapped the banner of the Starks. Winter fell, a grey dire wolf racing across the ice-white field. Bane's father, Bran's father sat solemnly on his horse, long brown hair stirring in the wind. His closely trimmed beard was short white, making him look older than 35 years. He had a grim cast of his grey eyes this day, and had seen that old man would sit before him in the fire, and in the evening, talking softly of the age of heroes, and the children of the forest. He had taken off the father's face. Brain's thought, and on the face of the Stark of Winterfell. There were questions asked and answered, given there in chill of the morning, but afterward Bran could not recall much of what had been said. Finally his lord father gave a command, and the two guardsmen dragged and ragged to the iron stumps of the center of the square. They forced his head down onto the hard black wood. Lord Edward Stark dismounted, and his ward. Theon Greyjoy brought forth the sword. Ice, that sword was called. It was wide across as the man's hand, and taller even than Rob. The blade was Valyrian steel, spell-forged and dark as smoke. Nothing held an edge like Valyrian steel. His father peeled off his gloves and handed him the Joyce Cassel. The captain of his household guard, he took force of the ice with both hands, and said, "In the name of Robert, in the name of Robert and the house brethren, the first of his name, King of the Andals, and the Raynor of the first man, Lord of the 7 kingdoms, and the protector of the realm, by the word of Endrin of the house Stark, Lord of Winterfell, and the Warden of the North, I do sentence you to die." He left the great swordsman high above his head. Brain's bastard's brother Jon Snow moved closer, keeping the pony well in hand. He whispered, "Don't look away. Father will know if you do." Brain kept his pony well in hand and not look away. His father took off the man's head with a single sure stroke. Blood sprayed across the snow, as red as summer wine. One of the horses reared and had to be sustained to keep from bolting. Brands could not take off his eyes of blood. The snow around him stung, drinking, eerily eating as he watched. The head bounced off the trick of the root and rolled and came near Greyjoy's feet. Theon was lean, dark youth of 19 who found everything amusing. He laughed, put his boot on the head, and kicked it away. "Ass," Jon muttered. Low enough so Greyjoy did not hear. He put a hand on Bran's shoulder, and Bran looked away over the bastard's brother. "You did well," Jon told him solemnly. Jon was 14 and an old hand at justice. It seemed colder than a long ride back to Winterfell. Though the wind had died by then, the sun was higher in the sky. Bran rode with his brothers well ahead of the main party. His pony struggled hard to keep up with the horses. The deserter died bravely, Robb said. He was big and broad and growing every day, with his mother's coloring of his fair skin, red-brown hair, and blue eyes of the Tillys of the river runs. He had courage, at the least. "No," Jon Snow said quietly. "It was not courage. This one was dead of fear. You could see it in his eyes, Stark." Jon's eyes were grey, so dark they seemed almost black, but there was little they did not see. He was of age with Robb, but they did not look alike. Jon was slender where Robb was muscular. Dark where Robb was fair, graceful, quick where his half-brother was strong and fast. Robb was not impressed. The others take his eyes. He sworn he died he died well. "Race you to the bridge." "Done," Jon said, kicking his horse forward. Robb cursed and they galloped off to the trail, Robb laughing and hooting, Jon silent and intent. The hooves of the horse kicked up the showers of snow as they went. Bran did not follow. His pony could not keep up. He had seen the ragged man's eyes, and he could not think of them now. And he was thinking of them now. After a while, the sound of Robb's laughter receded, and the woods grew silent again. So deep it thought that he had never heard the rest of the party until his father moved up right beside him. "Are you well, Brian? Are you well, Bran? Are you well, Bran?" "Yes," not unkindly. "Yes, father," Bran told him. He looked up, wrapped his furs in his leather, and mounted on his great war horse. His lord father loomed over him like a giant. "Robb says the man died bravely, but Jon said he was afraid." "What do you think?" his father asked. Bran thought about it. Can a man still be brave if he's afraid? "That is the only time a man can be brave," his father told him. "Do you understand why I did it? Do you understand why I did it?" He was a wildling, Bran said. "They carried off women and sell them to others." His lower file smiled. "Old Nat has been telling you stories again. In truth, the man was an oath-breaker. He deserted from the Night's Watch. No man is more dangerous. The deserters know his life is forfeit if he is taken. So he will not flinch from any crime, no matter how vile. But you mistaken me. The question was not why the man had died, but why I must do it." Bran had no answer for that. King Robert has a headsman, he said, uncertainly. He does, his father admitted, as did the Targaryen kings before him. Yet your way is older way. The blood of the first men still flows in your veins of Starks. And we hold to believe that the man who passes the sentence should swing the sword. If you would take a man's life, you owe him to look into your eyes and hear his final words. If you cannot bear that, then perhaps the man does not deserve to die. One day, Bran, you and Robert's bannermen hold to keep your own for your brothers, and your kings and justices will fall to you. When day comes, you must take no pleasure in the task, but neither must you look away. A ruler who hides behind paid executioners soon forgets what death is. So when Jon repairs, that was when Jon reappeared on the crest of the hill before him. He waved and shouted down, "Father Bran, come quickly, see what Robb has found." Then he was gone again. Jode rode beside him. "Trouble, my lord." Beyond a doubt, his father said. "Come, let us see what mischief my sons have routed out now." He sent his horses into a trot. Jory and Bran and the rest came after. They found Robb at the riverbank north of the bridge, with Jon still mounted beside him. The late summer snow has been heavily in this moon turn. Robb stood knee-deep in white, his hood pulled back at the sun shone of his hair. He was cradling something in his arm, while boys talked in hushed voices, excited voices. The rider picked up the wave carefully through the drifts, groping for solid footing on the hidden, uneven ground. Troy Cressel and Theon Greyjoy were the first to reach the boys. Greyjoy was laughing and joking as he rode. Bran heard the breath go out of him. "Gosh!" he exclaimed, struggling to keep the control of his horse. As he reached for his sword, Joy's sword was already out. "Robb, get away from it," he called. His horse reared in under him. Robb grinned and looked up from the bundle in his arms. "She can't hurt you," he said. "She's dead, Joy." Bran's was a fire of curiosity. By then, he would have spurted our ponies faster. But his father made this dismount beside the bridge and approached on foot. Bran jumped off and ran. By then, Jon, Joy, and Theo Greyjoy had all dismounted as well. "What the seven hell is that?" Greyjoy said. He was saying. "A wolf," Robb told him. "A freak," Greyjoy said. "Look at the size of it." Bran's heart was thumping as his chest had pushed out through the waist of his brother's side. Half buried in the blood-stained snow, a huge shark shape slumped in ice, in death. Ice had formed in the shaggy grey fur, and a faint smell of corpsing clung to it like a woman's perfume. Brains glimpsed Blind's eyes crawling with maggots. A wide mouth, full of yellow teeth, but it was the size of it that made him gasp. It was bigger than his pony, twice the size of a large hound in his father's kennel. "It's no freak," Jon said, claiming. "It's a dire wolf. They grow larger than any other kind." Theo Greyjoy said, "There's not been a dire wolf sighted south of the wall in 200 years. "I seen one," Jon replied. "I see one now," Jon replied. Cocky bastard. Bran tore his eyes away from the monster. That was when he noticed the bundle of Robb's arms. He gave a cry for delight and moved closer. a pup with a tiny ball of grey-black fur and his eyes still closed. It nuzzled blindly against Rob's chest as he cradled it, searching for milk among his leather, making it a little sad whimpering sound. Bran reached hesitantly. "Go on," Rob told him. "You can touch him." Bran gave out a pup quick, nervous stroke. Then he turned at Jon, as Jon said, "Here you go." His half-brother put his second pup into his arms. There are 5 of them. Bran sat down in the snow and hugged the wolf puppy to his face. His fur was soft and warm against his cheeks. Dire wolves, dire wolves, lose in the realm after so many years, muttered Holland. "The master of horse. I like it a lot." "It's a sign," Troy said. Father frowned. "It's only a dead animal, Troy," he said. Yet he seemed troubled. Snow crouched underneath his boots and moved around the body. "Do we know what killed her?" "There's something in the throat," Rob told him, proud to have found the answer before his father even asked. "There's just under the jaw." "There, just under the jaw." His father knelt and groped under the beast's head with his hand. He gave a yank and held it all for all to see. A foot of shattered antlers. Teeth snapped off, all wet with blood. A sudden silence descends over the party. The men looked over antlers uneasy, and no one dared to speak. Even Brian could see their fear. He did not understand. His father tossed the antlers aside and clenched his hands in the snow. "I'm surprised she lived long enough to whelp," he said. His voice broke its spell. "Maybe she didn't," Troy said. "I've heard tales. Maybe the bitch was already dead when the pups came." Born with the dead," another man put in. "Worse luck. No matter," Hall said. "They'd be dead soon enough, too." Brian gave a wordless cry of dismay. "The sooner the better." Theon Grey Joy agreed. He drew his sword. Give the beast here, Bran. The little thing squirmed against him, as if it heard and understood. "No!" Bran cried out fiercely. "It's mine!" "Put away your sword, Greyjoy," Robb said. For a moment he sounded as commanding as their father. Like the Lord he would be someday. "We will keep these pups." "You cannot do that, boy." "You cannot do that, boy," he said Harwin, who was Holland's son. "It'd be merciful to kill them," Holland said. Bran looked to his lord's father for rescue, but all he got was a frown. A frowned brow. "Holland speaks truly, son. Better swift death than a hard old one in cold and starvation." "No!" He could feel the tears welling in his eyes, and he looked away. He didn't want to cry in front of his father. Robb insisted stubbornly. "Sir Roderick's red bitch whelped against the last week," he said, "and it was a small litter. Only two live pups. She'll have enough milk. She'll rip apart when they try to nurse." "Lord Stark," Jon said. It was strange to hear him call father that, so formally. Bran looked at him with a despite hope. "There are 5 pups here," told father. 3 male, 2 female. What of it, Jon? "You have 5 true-born children," Jon said. 3 sons, 2 daughters. The dire wolves is a signal of your house. Your children were meant to have these pups, my lord." Bran saw his father's face change when he saw the other men exchange glances. He loved Jon with all his heart, and for a moment, even at 7, Bran understood what his brothers had done. The Count had come right only because Jon had omitted himself. He had included the girls in conclude even Rickon, the baby, but not the bastard who bore the surname Snow. The name that custom disagreed be given to all those northern unlucky enough to be born with no name of their own. Their father understood well. You want no pups for yourself, John, he asked softly. The direwolves graces of the banners of the House Stark. John pointed out. I am no Stark, father. Their lord father regarded John thoughtfully. Rob rushed into a silence he left. I will nurse them myself, father, he promised. I will soak a towel with warm milk and give him to suck on that. Me too, Bran echoed. The Lord weighed his sons long and carefully with his eyes. Easy to say and harder to do. I will not have you wasting the servants' time with this. If you want these pups, you will feed them yourselves. Is that understood? Bran nodded urgently. Urgently. The pup squirmed and Scraff licked his face with a warm tongue. You must train them well, their father said. You must train them. The kennel master will have nothing to do with these monsters. I promise you that. And the gods help you if neglect them, or brutalize them, or train them badly. They are not dogs to be begged for treats and slink off at a kick. A direwolf will rip a man's arm off his shoulders as easily as a dog would kill a rat. Are you sure you want this? Yes, father, Bran said. Yes, Rob agreed. And the pups will die anyway, despite all you do. They won't die, Rob said. We won't let them die. Keep them, then. Droid dismounted, gathering all of the other pups. It's time we were back to Winterfell. It was not until we're mounted and on their way to Bran's allowed himself to taste the sweet air of victory. By then his pups were snuggled inside his leather, warm against him, safe on a long ride home. Bran was wondering what to name him. Halfway across the bridge, John pulled up sullenly. What is it, John? The Lord Father asked. Can't you hear it? Bran could hear the wind of the trees and clatter of the hooves of the iron wood planks, the whimps of his hungry puppy. But John listened to something else. There, John said. He swung his horse around and galloped back across the bridge. They watched his dismount where all the dire wolves lay dead in the snow. Watched him kneel, and for a moment later he was riding back on them, smiling. He must have crawled away from the others, John said, or must have driven away. Their father said, looking at the sixth pup. His fur was white, where the rest of the litter was gray. His eyes were red blood, and the ragged man who died that morning. Bran thought that the curious that the pups alone would have opened his eyes, while the others still blind. An albino? An albino? Theon Greyjoy said with a worn amusement. That one will die even faster than the others. Jon Snow gave his father's ward a long, chilling look. I think not, Greyjoy, he said. That one belongs to me.